Want to know the latest and hottest music hitting the airwaves? Don't be left out. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Music Podcast. It keeps you on the loop with everything you need to know from pop, rock, hip-hop, and the top 40. And we'll throw in news of your favorite artists, concert and tour dates, and so much more. Listen no further, because this is the gold standard in music podcast.
Welcome to another edition of the GSMC Music Podcast. I'm your host, Rory O'Toole. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you guys have been doing well. I've certainly been trying to keep myself busy. Obviously digesting a lot of music. There's been a lot coming out these days, a lot this summer. Even with the pandemic, artists still producing. But when I'm not listening to music, I like to keep myself busy. You know, I try to maintain a few hobbies here or there, pay attention to the outside world, outside of the music ecosystem. And one of my favorite things to do is to watch sports, follow sports. I follow basically the four main big ones. I'm basketball, baseball, soccer, football. And right now, we've been having the NBA playoffs, which has been a ton of fun to watch. The games have been great. Obviously, they're playing in that bubble in Disney World in Orlando, Florida. The games have been really competitive, though. There's no fans, obviously, but the NBA's done a really good job of integrating all the players into that environment. They have people on Zoom on the walls, on these LED walls during the game. And the quality of play has been really, really good. In a way, I think it helps a lot of the players not having the distractions of fans there. Obviously not having the distractions of just clubs and restaurants and family there as well. So it's been a blast to watch. Especially love watching Luka Doncic single-handedly take on the LA Clippers, who are probably going to win the NBA Finals. Looking very strong, but Luka's putting up a fight. Had a buzzer beater. I believe it was game 5 or game 4 he dropped that. On a sprained ankle, no less. He's only 21 years old, second year in the league. Just absolutely unbelievable talent. Love that dude. Anyways, as I'm watching that, I'm thinking, you know, it's summer. There's lots of discussions about what's the best summer songs, and I'm looking at this playoff format. And sort of a light bulb goes off in my head, and I say, you know what? What if I do a playoff NBA-style format for the greatest summer songs of all time? Now, obviously, songs can't play each other. There's no winning and losing in art. There's only subjective opinions by snot-nosed kids like me, but it's fun. It's always a great time to debate and argue and trade barbs and opinions and think I'm an idiot or, you know, use me for confirmation bias, whatever you may be. These are the sort of conversations that are never ending because you can't win, but you can always talk about it. So that's kind of the special ingredient in it. So I said, you know what? Let's just do that. Now, trying to decide what's the greatest summer songs of all time is a task that was very, very difficult, and I agonized over the choices, spent way too much time researching, listened to a lot of different songs, went through my Spotify, went through my old iPod, went through just lists and catalogs online and in print. Really tried to narrow this down. Of course, I have my own favorites. my own biases. I'm not going to hide that. You know, you're not going to find any jazz on this. So if you're a jazz fan, sorry. You're not going to find any classical music. Sorry. You're not going to find any thrash metal or death metal. You're not going to find, you know, there's genres that I'm just not going to include on the podcast in general, just because I'm not familiar with them, or just I frankly don't like them. Though I do try to be as holistic as possible. I tried to be as holistic and fair as possible on this list, but I'm just letting you know right now, I do have my biases. Judge me through that lens. This is not the definitive list, but it is my list. It is the GSMC Music Podcast list of the 16 greatest songs in music history. Now, if you're not familiar with the NBA playoffs or the way they format the playoffs, basically, you have the regular season, the teams in the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference, they divide it by region. The 8 best teams in those 2 regions essentially are selected to play in this tournament to get to the championship that they call the NBA Finals. And so you have 1 seed. So you have the best team take on the worst team. Then you have the second best team take on the second worst team. You have the third best team take on the third worst team. You have the fourth best team take on the fifth worst team, and so on. So that is how it is in both regions. You split up the 16 into 8, 2 different sides of the bracket, 2 different regions, and then eventually 2 meet in the middle. So that is the format we followed for this. I ranked the songs 1 through 16, then I split them up 1 through 8 for each side. Obviously, we don't have specific geographic regions for music. I mean, I guess I could have made that, but I just did region 1, region 2, because it's all over the place. And this was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work, but let's get into round 1 right now. So round 1. You know what? Before we get into round 1, let me just give you a list right now. So we have Got to Give It Up, Marvin Gaye, part 1. We have I Want to Dance with Somebody, Whitney Houston. We have I Know There's Gonna Be Good Times, Young Thug and Jamie XX. We have Golden Hour, Casey Musgraves. We have Electric Feel by MGMT. We have Could You Be Loved by Bob Marley. We have Sunny Afternoon by the Kinks. We have Summer Madness by Kool and the Gang. We have Island in the Sun, Weezer. Hot in Here, Nelly. Before I Let Go, Maze, Frankie Beverly, and Beyonce. That one's sort of a cheat. We'll explain that later. Call Me Maybe, Rae Jepsen. Water Got No Enemy, Fela Kuti. I Can't Get No Satisfaction, Rolling Stones. Truth Hurts, Lizzo. Boys in Back in Town, Thin Lizzy. So, that's the list we have right now. In round 1, we have the 1 seed, Got to Give It Up, Marvin Gaye, taking on the 8 seed, I Know There's Gonna Be Good Times, Young Thug and Jamie XX. That's in region 1. In the same region, we have the number 4 seed, Island in the Sun by Weezer, taking on the number 5 seed, Before I Let Go, Maze, Frankie Beverly, Beyonce. Now those are technically 2 different songs. Beyonce covered it, but I'm cheating a little bit to get both those versions in. And they are very closely related, so you know what? I'm going to take it. Sunny Afternoon's a 3 seed, taking on the 6 seed, Water Got No Enemy, Fela Kuti. That is, again, in region 1. Could You Be Loved, Bob Marley, taking on the number 7 seed, Truth Hurts by Lizzo. Then on the other side of the bracket, I Want to Dance with Somebody, Whitney Houston as a number 1 seed, taking on the number 8 seed, Golden Hour, Casey Musgraves. Same region, we have number 4 seed, Hot in Here by Nelly, taking on number 5 seed, Call Me Maybe, Rae Jepsen. We have the number 3 seed, Summer Madness, Kool and the Gang, taking on the number 6 seed, I Can't Get No Satisfaction, Rolling Stones. We have number 2 seed Electric Feel MGMT taking on number 7 seed The Boys Are Back in Town. Okay, so let's go back to Region 1. Got to Give It Up, Marvin Gaye. Obviously, one of the best disco songs of all time by an artist who wasn't even a disco artist. He's a Motown soul legend. But he tried his hand at disco, and like everything Marvin Gaye touched, it was golden. It is just groovy as hell. Gives you that nervous energy that you get before going out on a summer night. Taking on I Know There's Gonna Be Good Times, Young Thug, Jamie XX. It's kind of a combo of dancehall, trap, party beat, and some doo-wop even in there. That is a great, great summer tune right there. This one was really, really hard to decide. Really difficult, but again, this is a number 1 seed going against a number 8 seed. Number 1 seeds typically advance, so I advanced. Got to Give It Up, Part 1 by Marvin Gaye. But before we leave that, I just want to say, I Know There's Going to Be Good Times is one of my personal favorites. That's kind of how it got in there. That is one of my personal favorites. I just think it's the height of a summer party jam. If you don't dance and smile and enjoy the moment when you're listening to that, I don't know if I can help you. This is pure summer glee. Anyways, moving on. Island in the Sun, Weezer, taking on Before I Let Go. Now, Island in the Sun, obviously, is a title that fits summer. It is one that everyone wants to do when you're on summer vacation. You want to go travel to an island in the sun. And the lyrics, they're kind of sad, actually. But, you know, the lyrics of, we'll run away together, we'll spend some time forever, we'll never feel bad anymore. That's kind of how everyone feels going into summer. It's chill, laid back. You just want that wish fulfillment. In 2013, Rolling Stone actually rated the song the 46th best summer song of all time. Gives you a sense of how perfect that is for summer. Now, Before I Let Go was originally released in 1981 by Maze and Frankie Beverly. That is essentially the unofficial black national anthem. You show up to any graduation party, that's probably going to be played. Any sort of celebratory event, that's going to be played. Any sort of... If you watch any of those black colleges and their traditional football games and they have the huge bands going at it, you're going to hear that song. It is a absolute classic. It's just the strut of that synth, the guitar, that crooning. It's like lighter than air ecstasy. This song is just, it's perfect. And then Beyonce got on it. She starts it with roaring crowd noise and then jumps into these 808s. It's kind of updated for the modern day. It's like a pop rap sort of song mixed with this obviously classic soul dance record. It's just, it sounds like it's too crazy to arrange, but it just works perfectly. It's one of my favorite Beyonce songs. So that one was very tough, going against Island in the Sun, Weezer, going against Before I Let Go. But I said, you know what? I'm going with Before I Let Go. There's just something more dynamic about it that's stuck out to me. I mean, Island in the Sun is a great sentiment of summer, but Before I Let Go captures the feeling of summer more for me. That just dynamic passion waiting to be let out during summer. So Sunny Afternoon, the Kinks, taking on Water Got No Enemy by Fela Kuti. Now, Fela Kuti, as I've discussed on previous podcasts, one of my favorite artists of all time. But as dynamic, as just enveloping and overwhelming in the best way possible, Water Got No Enemy is, with that fantastic horn section and amazing Fela Kuti lyrics and singing. I just think Sunny Afternoon, the Kinks, captures summer, the disposition of summer, in a way that very few songs have. And I just think it's better as far as just summer songs go. Though, as far as what's the better song overall, I would take Water Got No Enemy. But for this category, for summer songs, taking Sunny Afternoon. Could You Be Loved, Bob Marley, taking on Truth Hurts by Lizzo. Yo, love Lizzo. She's a queen, but we're talking about Bob Marley. We're talking about Could You Be Loved. Come on. I went with Could You Be Loved. Now, shifting over to the other side of the bracket, I Want to Dance with Somebody, Whitney Houston, taking on Golden Hour. Casey Musgraves, we thank you for showing up. Golden Hour, the entire album is amazing. The song is beautiful. Great love, summer, falling in love during the summer sort of song. But it ain't touching Whitney Houston. I'm sorry, they're not in the same league. Maybe this was an unfair matchup, but look, Casey Musgraves, not taking anything away from you. Still great. Hot in Here, taking on Call Me Maybe. This is a really, really tough matchup. Hot in Here is obviously one of the biggest crowd pleasers of all time. Talking about take off all your clothes because it's so hot in here. I mean, that captures summer. I don't need to explain that. Then Call Me Maybe, Carly Rae Jepsen, might be the most perfect pop song of the 21st century. It really might be. Obviously released in September of 2012. That was a huge summer smash hit. Sugary dance pop tune. It's about hoping for a call back from a crush. It's kind of innocent. Kind of speaks to your tween summer days where you're starting out and you have a crush on someone and you give them their number and you're like, please call me. It's very relatable. Such an earworm. Yeah, I mean, this is honestly one of the most addictive, perfect pop songs I've ever heard. And Hot in Here is one of the biggest crowd pleasers I've ever heard. So this one I really, really agonized over. And, you know, on my paper right now I have Hot in Here, but as I'm talking this through, I think I'm going to switch and go Call Me Maybe. I think Call Me Maybe, I think it just has that added little ingredient to it. Maybe it's the sweetness behind it, but it really captures a sort of innocent summer when you're really coming of age. And you're just optimistic about everything. You're like a little puppy. And just obviously the earworm nature of this song. It's so catchy. It's ridiculous. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go Call Me Maybe. I know Hot in Here on the surface feels like a better summer song, but it's also like, I feel like I can get songs like Hot in Here elsewhere. Call Me Maybe. Yeah, it's a pop song, but it is the height of pop. This is what pop aspires to be, and pop works well. Summer is a season for pop, obviously. You want to dance, you want to smile, you don't want to think too hard. It's time for pop music, and this is the height. This is the apex of pop. Summer Madness, Kool and the Gang, taking on I Can't Get No Satisfaction. Obviously, I Can't Get No Satisfaction is one of the best rock songs of all time. Some say it even took rock and roll to rock music with how aggressive and in your face it was and unapologetic. Famously, Keith Richards wrote this song in his sleep, or at least the guitar riff. That's the legend anyways. Number 2 song of all time according to Rolling Stone. Released in June of 1965, so it definitely fits this summer category. And Summer Madness, Kool and the Gang is just an instrumental. There's no vocals, but it is the quintessential summer driving music, especially when it's getting to be sunset or little twilight hours. Maybe you're on a ridge line overlooking the city. Maybe you're with a special someone. Maybe you're just there thinking about life, thinking about what your summer's going to be, thinking about what your summer was. It's a very like bird's eye view sort of sentiment behind that song. And the synths, those horns, I mean, this thing sounds like the future. Even to this day, when I think of the future, it sounds like this song. It is utterly hypnotizing, and it captures that sort of inexplicable summer just feeling of loss, but also total comfortability. It really is the perfect driving music as well. Play this when you're driving. It's gonna feel like you're in a movie. It is a cinematic cutscene waiting to happen. So obviously it has summer in the name. I'm gonna go Summer Madness, Kool and the Gang. I love I Can't Get No Satisfaction, which is equally as much a summer song, but you know what? Summer Madness just, it touches something in your soul. There's something in those instrumentals, even though when they don't have lyrics, they just reach into you a bit more sometimes because you get to project the meaning onto them. And I think that just captures summer in the best way. Electric Feel, MGMT taking on Boys Are Back in Town. Obviously, Electric Feel is just a psychedelic dreamland. The sort of fantasy soundtrack you have in your head when you're thinking about how awesome your summer's going to be or how awesome your past summers were. That electric feeling you get when you're in the airport or with your friends doing something really awesome, going on a great trip, going to a great party, just enjoying life. That electric chemistry you feel if you meet a special someone or just when you're with people you care about or just feel comfortable with. It is a lovely, fantastic, you very rarely hear songs like that song. Not easy to replicate. Taking on The Boys Are Back in Town. And you know what? I think we're going to have an upset here. I know this is going to piss some people off, but I'm going to take Boys Are Back in Town over Electric Feel. I'm taking the quintessential dad rock song. I will explain that after the break. Stick around for the rest of this playoff tournament. It's about to get even more challenging and spicy.
Always on the go, but the day just won't be one without your Hollywood fix. Let Golden State Media Concepts Entertainment Podcast take care of that. An all-inclusive look of pop culture.
It's round 2. It's getting real. I think we're down to 8 teams now from 16. I believe that's how the math is supposed to work on this. Do not quote me because I do indeed suck at math. So I believe we're down 8. Anyways, I said I was going to explain why I took the upset pick of The Boys Are Back in Town, Thin Lizzy, over Electric Feel by MGMT. Now, is Electric Feel a more interesting song musically? What it's doing with its instrumentation, what it's doing with its production, what it's doing even with its lyrics and just general feeling and energy? Probably. There's probably less songs like Electric Feel than there are Boys Are Back in Town. I'm not going to deny that. But sometimes I feel like we covet maybe originality a little too much. There's nothing wrong with executing a formula perfectly and to a T. There's a reason it's a formula. It's like chocolate chip cookies. Could you make a pastry that's more fabulous? Of course. Are there desserts that are more exotic and more exciting? Of course. But when a chocolate chip cookie is made correctly, When a chocolate chip cookie is executed to a T, when the formula is down, when the ingredients are top notch, it's hard to beat. It's really, really hard to beat. And yeah, you've seen it before. Yes, you've heard songs like Boys Are Back in Town before, but you know what? That doesn't change the fact it's still delicious. It's one delicious song. And I gotta be honest, I crave Boys Are Back in Town more than Electric Feel. Especially for a summer list. Because there's something about Boys Are Back in Town which totally captures that feeling of, especially when you're in college, especially that first or second year in college. When you come back home, you've been off in the world, you come back to the city, you come back to your hometown, your friends are back, and you guys go out for the first time, and you just have that feeling of, we're going to take this town. We're going to paint it red. This is our city. We're adults now. We know the ins and outs of this place. This is ours. This is our territory. We're going to just burst through the scene and do what we want and walk around like we're rock stars and the dudes who know exactly who they are, what they're doing, how much juice they got. Boys Are Back in Town is just, boom. It's that moment of you stepping out the car into the bar with all the confidence in the world. That is Boys Are Back in Town. Electric Feel, it's a psychedelic fantasy dreamland. It's awesome. I love going down that trip. But you know what? I don't really know if it's about summer, really. I put it as a number 2 seed because it does capture that fantasy feeling of summer. But Boys Are Back in Town. Boys Are Back in Town. I feel like I keep saying Boys Are Back in Town. Boys Are Back in Town captures what summer really is on the ground level. At least when you're a delusional 19-year-old or young 20-something. And you feel like, yes, I own this city. That is Boys Are Back in Town. And I know that this is kind of dad rock. That maybe this is like a bit too much of dad classic rock. But you know what? It rocks. You can't deny it. Just like chocolate chip cookies, you can't deny it. Giving it to Thin Lizzy right now. And they are taking on Summer Madness by Kool and the Gang. Like I said, Summer Madness is the perfect driving in the summertime music, especially when you're in a tunnel late at night. Maybe it's sunset. Maybe it's twilight. You're taking in your summer, thinking about everything that transpired, where you're going, where you're headed, or maybe it's the beginning of summer. And you're imagining where this summer could go, how pivotal the summer could be for your life. It's a crossroads kind of song. It's a pivot point summer. The summer where people graduate from college. Some people are getting jobs. Some people are staying home. Maybe you're figuring stuff out. Maybe you've got a decision to make. Summer Madness, really. And it's just an instrumental. And that's why you're able to project that meaning onto it. Sometimes when songs don't have lyrics, they're more powerful because it allows the listener to sort of decide what this song means instead of someone singing to you what the song is about. Without the voice, you kind of get to decide, you know what, this is what this song is about. And that's the power in non-vocal instrumental songs, especially Summer Madness, which again sounds like it's from the future. And if aliens ever come, this is definitely one of the songs we should try to communicate with them in, because I'm pretty sure they're going to speak whatever this synth is. This synth right here, that is some alien technology right there. So this matchup, it could not be more different as far as music, where they're coming from, what they're capturing. But you know what? I'm taking Boys Are Back in Town. I'm doing it. I'm making the Cinderella run for Thin Lizzy, for the Irish Hard Rockers. I'm doing it. This is kind of Is it, again, it's the chocolate chip argument. Is it as interesting or as musically creative and original as Summer Madness, Kool and the Gang? No. But man, it's making that chocolate chip cookie. It's that Mrs. Fields chocolate chip. It's just perfect. It's making it just right. You can't deny it. You can't deny Grandma's cookies. I'm sorry. Your Big Brother's pastries, they're more fancy, but they're not as good as Grandma's cookies. I'm giving it to Boys Are Back in Town. If you think I'm an idiot, you want to be the first. Leave a review if this is pissing you off. That's where I'm going right now. Boys Are Back in Town. Thin Lizzy. Let's do it. On the top of the bracket, we have I Want to Dance with Somebody. Whitney Houston taking on Call Me Maybe, Rae Jepsen. This is the ultimate pop showdown. I feel like these songs are very, very similar. Obviously, two pop icons. Whitney Houston is definitely more of an icon than Rae Jepsen, but Rae, very well liked in the music world. I don't think anyone has anything bad to say about Rae Jepsen. She just seems like a nice, kind person who's had a very good career. People thought she'd be a one-hit wonder after this song. Nope. She's had plenty of hits since. Maybe not to the level of Call Me Maybe, but she's had a good career. And Call Me Maybe, it is a great summer song. It really captures that sort of innocent summer, that tweener summer when you're a tween. Maybe you're going out to the mall the first time by yourself. Maybe you got your cell phone for the first time. You pretend you have stuff figured out, but really you're super insecure and nervous. Constantly feeling awkward and unsure. And maybe you run into a kid at the mall or at a sports game or whatever middle schoolers do. That's kind of lame and stupid, but you do it because you're in middle school or early high school, and you're just like, oh, here's my number. And you're just hoping, please call me. Please call me, this random person. It becomes the most important thing in the world. And this song, it has that sugary, sort of earworm pop dance layers to it that is just, it's undeniable. It might be the most perfect pop song of the 21st century. It really might be. I'm trying to think of something that could top that. It is the typical summer smash hit as well. Released September of 2012. It feels like eating candy. It feels like you go to the mall and you're just eating candy or getting some sugary drink. That is Call Me Maybe. And then you run into your crush and it's like, oh my God, please call me. Just perfect summer song. And it's very optimistic. It's very bright. It's cotton candy, really. Then I Want to Dance with Somebody. I feel like it has a lot of the qualities of Call Me Maybe, but you know what? I think it's a heightened version of everything that I love about Call Me Maybe. It's got catchiness. It's got danciness. It's got lyrics that you can't help but sing to. It's got the blissful just feeling around it. Just like glowing aura. And you have that longing of summer and the optimism that greets it. Especially in the 80s, the mid-80s optimism is just like unmatched. But you have Whitney Houston versus Rae Jepsen. I mean, come on, Whitney Houston. Michael Jordan of the pop music game. Her and Michael Jackson. That's my male pop star, female pop star, Mount Rushmore probably. I gotta go with Whitney Houston over Rae here, though it makes me sad because Rae, I don't want Rae to lose. I just want us to, maybe shake hands and be like, you know what? Competition's dumb. But you gotta make a pick here. And I'm sorry, Carly, but Whitney Houston. I don't think Carly'd agree with me. I mean, it's Whitney Houston we're talking about. So we're gonna have I Want to Dance with Somebody, Whitney Houston, in the semifinals against Boys Are Back in Town, Thin Lizzy. What a matchup that's gonna be. Then we have Marvin Gaye taking on Beyonce. Just picture that in your head for a moment. Marvin Gaye versus Beyonce. The star power in that room would probably melt the sun. That is insane. And this is an insane like decision to even make, to have to compare these songs, compare these artists. It's very difficult. It's not fun. I feel like I'm going to piss off one fan base or the other. And like I said, before I let go, it's not just Beyonce, it's Maze and Frankie Beverly. It is the unofficial Black national anthem. This thing is played at graduation parties and black cookouts everywhere. Black drum lines. This is one of their classic go-tos. This is a total slice of American culture right here. That is super important to a fabric of this country. And then, you get Beyonce to just heighten it. It's just, I mean, man, I feel like this is almost the Avengers of music right here. It's that you got that synth, you got that crooning. It's just lighter than air ecstasy. It's such a staple of a song. And you know what? Even Beverly told Billboard that the cover was, quote, one of the high points of his life in a class of its own and made him feel bigger than ever. I feel like I have a huge smash out there. He was ecstatic about Beyonce covering the song. And I know I cheated there. I mean, she did use it. It's a cover. And I'm just cheating. I'm a cheater. Whatever. I fit in two people there. But you know what? Even two people I don't think can conquer Marvin Gaye. Got to give it up. I don't think you can conquer Marvin Gaye. That's how big a force he is. I mean, we'll get into the song in the next round, but Marvin Gaye in general, as big a star as Beyonce is, Marvin Gaye, this man is a super nebula, if you want to talk about stars. Then on the bottom of the bracket, we have Sunny Afternoon, Kinks taking on Bob Marley, Could You Be Loved. Obviously, Sunny Afternoon is just a perfect summer song. Just the perfect summer lazy song, which is just a huge part of my summers anyways. I don't know about you guys, but I love to be lazy during summers. That haze of sleeping in or sleeping off a hangover or sleeping or napping because there's nothing else to do but hang out and just, have these endless days pass by in the best way. You're just relaxed. You don't even care. But you're just comfortable. You're content. That's what it is. You're content. And you get these lyrics like, and I love to live so pleasantly, live this life of luxury, lazing on a sunny afternoon, in the summertime. Come on. That's an appeal to be on this list if I've ever heard one. And it was released in June of 1966. That is pretty good summertime credentials, but summertime credentials or not, you're taking on Bob Marley, the reggae icon. Reggae, Jamaica, it's in the Caribbean. It's just sort of in this forever summer zone to begin with. Everything about Bob Marley is, well, at least on the surface, is bright and positive and impactful and life-affirming and ultimately optimistic. Though obviously, if you actually listen to his stuff, it's more complex than that. But that's on the surface. That's kind of how we think about Bob Marley. And this song is it's not Bob Marley. It's his deepest, his most anguished, his most challenging. It's just his most blissful, I'd say. And you get those ear candy ornaments, the keyboards, the guitar, the rhythm section, the chorus. It's just so damn catchy. It was even on the dance charts. It's that, fun to listen to. It's a bop, for sure. I think I'm going to go Bob Marley there. That's no shots at the Kinks, but, we're talking about Bob Marley. So, in the semifinals, we have Marvin Gaye taking on Bob Marley. We have Whitney Houston taking on Thin Lizzy. Crazy playoffs. Songs of Summer. Got to Give It Up, Part 1. Could You Be Loved? I Want to Dance with Somebody. Boys Are Back in Town. That's your final four. After the break, we will break down the final four and then finally get to the final and crown a champion. You are definitely going to want to listen to that.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
It's the semifinals, y'all. You got Bob Marley, you got Marvin Gaye, you got Whitney Houston, and you got Thin Lizzy. 4 legends, 1 band. Well, technically Bob Marley. The song was with the Wailers, so we'll give that 2 bands. 2 solo artists. Big names. Big fan bases. This is a big decision. Clearly. I don't even know where to start with this one. I think let's start with the semifinal round in Region 1. Got to Give It Up, Part 1. Marvin Gaye versus Bob Marley's Could You Be Loved? This is a very, very interesting matchup because you have just the Marvin Gaye, Bob Marley dichotomy. Obviously 2 icons in their respective genres, 2 artists who sort of embody their genre. When people think of soul music, they definitely think of Marvin Gaye. When people think of reggae, they think of Bob Marley. They have that sort of power. Both had very interesting lives. Both died relatively young. Both achieved enormous success at a very young age. Both lives would make excellent films. I don't know if there's been a Marvin Gaye or Bob Marley film. Bob Marley, obviously, just his face alone is recognized across the world, and Marvin Gaye's voice is recognized across the world. So this is a very, very interesting matchup. As far as in the summer realm, both these songs and both these artists just sort of embody summer as well. A lot of their songs are upbeat, about love, about moving forward, about enjoying life. That definitely fits summer. That's the vibe you want in summertime. Now, looking at the song specifically, Got to Give It Up. Like I said, it was his foray into disco. And it's great at capturing that nervous energy and the growing comfortability you eventually get once you're in a party, but you're in an unfamiliar place, you're at an unfamiliar event, you're a little nervous, you're like, okay, what's going on here? And then music starts playing, or you just start talking to people having a good conversation. You're like, oh man, this is great. I'm having a good time. That is what Got to Give It Up captures. I love just the chatter. They had like people doing conversations in the background and stuff like that on this song, and it really makes it feel alive and real, like you're right there. It's very cinematic, and it kicks off with that standard drum beat. You get that kick, snare, hi-hat, and the synthesizers, because this is disco. And then Marvin Gaye's vocals come in after like a minute in that falsetto, which he's singing in most of the song in that falsetto. Harmonizes in that falsetto, and then you get the tenor vocals. Oh, it's so masterful song. And I believe this song goes on for like over 5 or 7 minutes. Like, it's a long one. So you're grooving in it for a long time. It's one of those endless summer kind of vibes, endless summer songs. The song actually is about a man who is a wallflower when he comes into a nightclub nervous to perform on the dance floor. But after a minute of this, the music finally takes over, his body starts to lose any inhibitions he had. Midway, he finally cuts loose before shouting the chant, "Non-stop express, party y'all, feel no distress, I'm at my best, let's dance, let's shout, getting funky, that's what it's all about." I mean, that's a summer chant right there. And yeah, it proves the power dance can overtake any shyness. And the dance is mostly focused on Gaye and a suitable female partner he seeks. In the second half, a funkier sort of jazz arrangement is helped with, you got some guitar, some bass, tambourine. And after, he just continues chanting as the song sort of fades out. And you get these great lyrics like, "I used to go out to parties and stand around because I was too nervous to really get down." But Gaye's narrator knows he's never gonna meet the girl or have as much fun as he's supposed to if he just hangs out on the wall. He has to come out of his shell. So he forces himself onto that dance floor and figures out how to lose himself. With the lyrics, "No more standing there beside the walls, finally got myself together, baby, and I'm having a ball." That's what summer's about. You gotta come out of your shell. You gotta leave behind your worries, your anxieties, your day-to-day life, and just have fun. Just relax, enjoy the moment. Maybe you'll meet someone. Maybe you'll have a great time. Just groove. Just dance. That's what it's about. That's what summer should all be about. And that song captures it perfectly. Also, this song used in Boogie Nights, the 1997 Paul Thomas Anderson movie that's just a masterpiece. Plays on the scene where Mark Wahlberg's character Dirk Diggler's showing off his new house. If you want to go watch the film, that's where you're going to see it. And yeah, it's just groovy as hell. Groovy as hell. Perfect for summertime. You put that on, people are going to start dancing. Now, Could You Be Loved? Also, just a fantastic song. I said it's a very crowd-pleasing, ear-candy sort of song with the keyboards and that just infectious rhythm section, and the refrains and the chorus are just like, you're gonna start singing it. It's so damn catchy. And it's a disco tinged. So these aren't two disco songs going at each other, but they're both in that disco sort of area. They both are dancing and grooving and sing along sort of songs. So this is really tough. Really, really tough. Oh, fun fact. Marley's sheet music for this song was emblazoned on the postage stamps of Jamaica. That's how important a song this is to Jamaica. You put this on their damn postage stamps. So, Postage Stamp Bob versus Wallflower Marvin Gaye. Got to Give It Up. Could You Be Loved? Who do we want? Who do we want in the finals, in the championship? Who should advance? So number 1 seed versus number 2 seed. After much deliberation, I think I'm going to go Got to Give It Up. As much as I love Bob Marley, as much as I love Could You Be Loved, as much as I love everything about that song, I just think Got to Give It Up captures the moment of the nervousness when you're at summer events, summer functions, and you want to have fun, but you're a little nervous, and then, eventually you work your way into it, and you have one of the best nights of your life. That slice of life thing that specificity, I think, puts it over the top, because Could You Be Loved, great song, great dance tune, but it's a little more vague. It's a little less specific to one place or time, so I'm going to give it to Got to Give It Up. Bob Marley, no offense. We will do an episode on Bob Marley, I think. That'll be in the future. We'll have to do that. Anyways, on the other side of the bracket, we have number 1 seed, I Want to Dance With Somebody, going against The Boys Are Back in Town. Number 7 seed, making the ultimate Cinderella run right now. This is interesting. We have an Irish hard rock band going against the American pop icon Whitney Houston. Both, though, children of the 80s. So, the time period matches up here, just as Marvin Gaye and Bob Marley matched up. We're not doing any time travel to make this happen. But obviously the songs are not anywhere near the same. You get a classic rock song on Boys Are Back in Town. You get a classic pop song with I Want to Dance With Somebody. I just love the idea of them even being in the same room. Honestly, I think they'd get along. We know Whitney Houston could get on any song and just make it happen. She went on the national anthem and made that song listenable, which is just unbelievable. And Boys Are Back in Town, Thin Lizzy, they were honestly ahead of their time in some respects. They're easily dismissed if all you know for them is Boys Are Back in Town, but they were a great band. They're loved in Ireland. Their lead singer, his name is actually escaping me right now. I think Phil Lynott is his name. He's like a Bruce Springsteen-like figure in Ireland. So, you know what? They would probably get along, and if they had to make a record together, I think it'd be okay. But looking at the song, like I said, Boys Are Back in Town, kind of like Got to Give It Up, captures a slice of life of summer. It really does. It is very... It is not only relatable, but feels almost cut from a feeling you've had yourself, and you didn't know other people shared it. It's like, you never put words to that, but you're like, man, this song captures perfectly the way this group psychology is working here. That is what everyone's wavelength is when you're back for summer, like I said, especially from college or just being away, and you come back to your hometown, and you're just like, yeah, we run this. We know exactly. We might as well be mayors. We're just gonna go in here, do what we want. We know where everything is. We know all the hidden spots, all the shortcuts, because we know this place like the back of our hand. But we've left, so we want to come back. Make it happen. Or, conversely, it could be you're coming back from your hometown. You're back in college. You're back in the town you moved to from visiting your hometown. And you're like, okay, I'm back here. Back with all my friends. We all went off for the holidays. Now we're back where we're supposed to be. The boys are back in town. Let's do it. And this isn't a male... I know this... we're talking about boys here, but you know what? I know this works for gals, too. Ladies can take this as well. I know when you guys get together for the first time in a long time, you're like, we're going to go out, we're going to go crazy, we're going to do what we want. That captures that feeling as well. This thing cuts across gender lines and everything. So this is just a universal slice of life. I know I keep saying that. Summer song right here. It really is. And then I Want to Dance with Somebody, Whitney Houston, like I said, might be a heightened version of everything I loved about Call Me Maybe, which was that it was the perfect pop song. So if that was the perfect pop song, and I still picked Whitney Houston's I Want to Dance with Somebody because I said it was a heightened version of that, well then damn. You know it must be amazing. And it is. It really is. Whitney Houston, I mean, she is going to be remembered 50 years from now. As far as pop music goes, she's got to be in the conversation every single time. She had too much talent for pop music, to be honest. Like, her voice was stupidly powerful. Just ridiculous. She would blow anyone out of the water. She was beautiful. She was charismatic. She was the 80s incarnate. She was optimistic, overwhelming, bright, colorful, and spectacular. And then obviously it went down. Her life, had a few twists and turns. Didn't really end on the best note, but 80s Whitney Houston, when this song comes out, I Want to Dance with Somebody, I think this is like her second number one hit. This is when she's hitting her peak. This is when she's hitting her prime. She's pretty much unstoppable. And as relatable and important a song, Boys Are Backing Down, for anyone who's really spent time somewhere else and come back for summer. Come back at any point in time. And that captures that sentiment. It feels very true and authentic. I Want to Dance with Somebody captures the overwhelming sentiment of summer, which is, I want to put my cares behind me. This is sort of my argument for Got to Give It Up too. I just want to put my cares behind me. I just want to dance. That's what summer's about. Put it all behind you. Just enjoy it. It's time to unwind. That is what summer should be about. That is why I'm picking I Want to Dance with Somebody. So, in the championship, we have Got to Give It Up, Marvin Gaye, versus I Want to Dance with Somebody, Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston, Marvin Gaye. What a matchup here. The two number one seeds. Bit boring we got the two number one seeds, but you know what? They were the best songs. We had a great field, but here we are. We're down to two. After the break, we're going to crown a champion.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now. Don't bother. What's hot on Netflix and everything in between. That's GSMCpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
It's the championship. This is what you've all been waiting for. It's the finals. This is going to be so difficult. This is going to be a tough... If this was a playoff series, if this is the championship, this is going 7 games. Both teams are going to go head-to-head. They're going to trade punches. They're going to trade positions of power. One team's going to be up, one team's going to be down, then they'll switch places. You're not going to know until the last second. This is going to be a buzzer beater overtime game. This one's really, really... I mean, we have Marvin Gaye going against Whitney Houston. How am I supposed to make a decision of this? Why did I put myself in this position? I don't know. I really should have maybe stopped myself before I got going on this, because now I have an impossible decision to make on my hands. Maybe I should just end it in a tie, guys. What about that? Would you be happy with the tie? No, of course you want it. We've got to have winners. We've got to have losers. This is America. We don't do ties unless it's hockey, and that's because that's Canadian. Also, football does ties. Jeez, really losing it here. They do ties. If it's a regular season game, they're going to have ties. So, actually, it is sort of American. But, in the general psychology of America, we need winners. We need losers. We don't like ties generally. They don't happen very often. And I'm certainly not going to do that. Not have that cop-out sort of answer. So, let's take it. Got to Give It Up, Marvin Gaye, versus I Want to Dance with Somebody. Now, both these songs are dance songs. Both these songs, you can play at a wedding, you can play at a bar mitzvah, you can play at a Holy Communion, you can play at a quinceañera, you can play at any little ceremony, any little gathering, any celebration. This is going to get people across the board from age 6 to 60. They're going to get on the dance floor for this, because this is deep in the human soul, the beats that these are hitting right here. They are undeniable. Even if you're sitting down, your leg's going to be shaking a little bit. You're going to be moving that foot up and down. Let's say you can't dance, or you're not confident you're dancing. You're at least going to give a little groove where no one's watching, behind closed doors. So, two dance songs are going against each other. It's almost like, which song makes you dance more? Should that be the judge? Or should we be judging who's the better singer? Who's the better singer, Marvin Gaye or Whitney Houston? That is, again, another impossible question. Why do I keep doing this to myself? Because we need difficult questions. Difficult questions lead to interesting conversations. Marvin Gaye versus Whitney Houston. Now, Whitney Houston, I think, is a more powerful singer. I think that's without a doubt. Obviously, she started singing in the church. She's got that gospel. She could have been a gospel singer, easily. Just, that thing fills a room. Certainly fills a church. So, I think she's a more powerful singer, for sure. But Marvin just touches you way, way, way deep. That guy, he's got something about the human soul. He's got something about romance. He's got something about hurt, something about pain, success, love, jealousy. He captures the emotional spectrum, I think, in a way that, and I'm not talking about his lyrics, just the way he sings, the way he changes his voice, his falsetto, his tenor. I mean, if both of them actually did amazing versions of the national anthem. I don't know if you've seen it, but Marvin Gaye sang at the 1980 All-Star Game, I believe. Did the national anthem. Whitney Houston did it at a Super Bowl. Unbelievable versions. They gave so much life to it. They made it their own. People will go and listen to that specifically, or just refer to it as like, yeah, that's the best possible version of it. So that speaks to just how close it is. Both of them killed the national anthem. And that's not to say, I want to go back to the emotion thing. I'm not saying Whitney Houston doesn't, because she has a way of changing her voice and expressing even on I Want to Dance with Somebody, there's a layer of, like, hurt and emotional vulnerability there. She's, I believe in the song, maybe coming off a breakup or had her heart broken, but it's just, like, still swinging, still taking her shots. She's like, yeah, I've been hurt, but that doesn't mean I'm going to shut down. I still just want to meet somebody. I still want to go out there, make it happen. That's a great attitude to have. And it gives you a little bit of emotional complexity there. So both of them, I mean, Marvin is definitely more synonymous with that sort of music, of culturally important music, in a way that pleases music critics and kind of our more snobbish sensibilities. But Whitney Houston, yes, she was a crowd pleaser. Yes, it was pop music. But she took that form of an inherently disposable and sort of generic form of music and made it Whitney Houston. She bent pop music to her will. Pop music did not bend Whitney Houston to its will. And that's what the best artists do. They take the music and use it for their own means. Use their powers to just take it in any direction they want. And so did Marvin did that with soul music as well. This is just, as we're talking through this, just this is an impossible question. I wonder if they ever met. That'd be interesting. I kind of hope they did. I feel like they would have got along. Obviously, Marvin was in a dark place by the time Whitney Houston was hitting the scene, but that doesn't mean he couldn't have been polite and kind and appreciative of what Whitney Houston was doing. I like to think they met. I mean, I feel like, Marvin, he may have even chatted her up. We know the way Marvin was. The man was an absolute hound dog. I think he would have shot his shot with Whitney Houston. Yeah, they're just so both important to late 20th century music in general, let alone pop and soul music. Obviously, Marvin's career sort of spanned more culturally significant events. I mean, he's in Motown in the early 60s. Then he navigates the Motown scene as it takes over America. And then obviously as America has the Summer of Love and then goes into Vietnam, he releases What's Going On, famously over the objections of Berry Gordy and the executives at Motown. Because that is a very honest and politically searing message of an album. And one that was probably his magnum opus, if we're being honest. And that was about the black experience, about trying to live a peaceful life, about living with pain and regret. And it's a very sorrowful sort of record. Definitely not what Motown specialized in, which was glossed up glamour. And then, of course, he moves into the 70s, and as disco becomes more popular, as soul gets a bit more funky, Soul Train becomes a thing, the styles change and the sensibilities are changing, it becomes more of a party atmosphere after the political feelings of the late 60s, early 70s. He kind of navigates that. His career changes. Obviously, there's a lot happening politically during that whole time. Then, of course, he moves into the 80s. And Whitney Houston, she kind of appears early 80s, mid 80s, and then through the 90s and 2000s. But I don't think she had the same sort of career arc as Marvin. And that's no fault of her own. It was just different. But I think Marvin, because of the time he operated in, what he represented, maybe was more important to people with a sense of he's a voice of a generation. But Whitney Houston, just because she wasn't of the same cultural power, sort of, at least in the minds of the public and especially in the minds of the music press or journalists. Like, it's people just don't take pop music as seriously a lot of the time, but that music, to anyone who lived through the 80s, Whitney Houston is a god or a goddess. And I mean, there's no replicating that really even now. What she meant to the 80s was very specifically 80s. Like I said, it's that bright, it's that optimism, it's that joy, it's that blissfulness. And I think that's what she captures on this record, honestly. I Want to Dance with Somebody really does capture the blissful summer that we all want to have. You want to throw away all your worries and just dance. And that bright instrumentation on that song, the synths, the drum beat, it's perfect. It's perfect at capturing the soundtrack you have in your mind when you're getting ready for summer. When you're getting ready in your room and you're thinking about what the day is going to be, you're just like, oh yeah, this is what it's good. That is the soundtrack to it. 100%. And it's just such a perfect pop song. And the way she says heat, I want to feel the heat with somebody. Obviously, I'm not doing it justice, but that little like tilt she has in the middle is one of my favorite moments of any song ever. That's like, take that, give that to any other pop musician. They're going to sing that line the same way 100 times out of 100. Whitney Houston takes it and adds that little bit on it and just like, oh man, she's going for it now. She's absolutely killing it. And you put that against Got to Give It Up, which is, look, it captures, like I said, the nervous energy of showing up to an event in the summer and then eventually throwing yourself into it. And kind of the nervous anxiousness that you have entering any summer. Maybe you don't know what's going to happen after summer. Maybe you're just like, want to make this one really count. You're putting a lot of pressure on yourself, or people are putting pressure on you to have fun. But maybe you're not in the mood, but eventually you let your guard down. Self-esteem goes up. What you want to do is just dance and hang out and have fun. That's what takes over. Any social anxiety or unsureness about what to do or where to go, you're just like, that doesn't matter right now. Let's have fun. Both those capture that. They're very one day sort of songs. Worry about the big picture later. Focus on tonight. Focus on this day. Focus on this moment. Which I think is an essential ingredient in summer. Because it's not about counting down the days. It's you want to have days run into each other. Sort of lose track of time. And just be in the moment of eating good food, reading good books, listening to good music, having fun, hanging out with people you love or care about. That is what summer's about. Both these capture that. You're just in the moment, and they're both about just getting off and dancing. They're both urging you to dance. But you know what? I'm going to go with I Want to Dance with Somebody, Whitney Houston. I just think Whitney, her energy is so infectious on this song. It is such an iconic pop song. And Marvin Gaye, he might be higher up in my favorite artist of all time than Whitney Houston, but in this exercise, and Whitney Houston is definitely in my top 10, top 15 for sure. Whitney Houston, for summer songs, that's the voice I want to hear for my summer. I want to be bright. I want to be sunny. I want to be excited. I want to just be filled with joy. I want to have a smile on my face. That's I Want to Dance with Somebody. I got to Give It Up has a little bit more of that Marvin sadness and maybe, little wistfulness. I Want to Dance with Somebody's like, you're young, you're naive, you don't know any better. Those are the best summers. So I'm going to go I Want to Dance with Somebody, Whitney Houston, the queen herself. Please listen to that song as soon as you end this podcast. Let me know what you think. Whitney forever, Marvin forever. This was a very, very difficult just bracket on all sides. So many great songs. But Whitney Houston, she's the queen for a reason. She's an icon for a reason. And this song, you're going to want to dance with somebody. It's that simple. Put this on and this is an automatic party starter. 100%. This is what summer is about for me. Just throw it away, have fun, enjoy the moment. Until next time, y'all, stay safe, enjoy your summer.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Music Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.